So to start off, welcome. I can't appreciate you enough for agreeing to join us on this podcast. I reached out to Joe Berkeley. I'm sure you know him.
Yeah.
He runs the Humans of the Untasket site.
Yeah, that's all great stuff. But my connection to him just recently, when I did that Bartley Kelly cartoon about when you shut the lights off at the
Pod.
well, well, I did the cartoon about that, him being the Grinch, and Joe Berkeley I got up in the morning and I already had an email from him, and it wasn't even Friday yet. So I don't know what happened. And I go, how did the cartoon get out? Somebody leaked the cartoon. Chris posted it online.
That made front page news at U.S. News. It was everywhere. It's phenomenal. Again, I think Joe Berkeley does a phenomenal job with humans. And this is meant to be an expansion of the stories of the people that have connections to Hull. So again, I think, we just want to focus on that. It's not going to turn into us talking or this turning to anything about us. It's really about your story. Kim and Jake probably know a little bit about your story. I sent them a summary of your background and all that, but I would love to start at the beginning. You grew up in Hull in the mid to late 60s, roughly?
Yeah, I was born in 1961. So I was the third child in the family. My oldest brother, Paul, he was born in 1957. I'm the bronze medalist of 10 kids. My youngest sister, Lynn, was born in 1970. If you add up the moment my mom was able to get pregnant, she did. So she was basically pregnant for 10 years of her life. He lost her first 3 kids.
Well,
the first 3. So
wow.
I have 13 pregnancies. My parents bought the house there. My mom's from Hull. She grew up in Hull. And my dad was Navy. His dad was in the Navy. His dad's from the Azores.
Really?
So,
interesting.
yeah. And he traveled. He was in the Navy, so they traveled a lot. But when they traveled, sometimes he would just stay back, and his grandmother would take care of him. When he went to school, he went to Hingham High School, and he lived right on North Street, in an apartment where he lived on 67 North Street. And until he went into the service, and when he came back, my mother was waiting for him. They started dating, and they bought the house in 1954.
And at that time,
what's the point? Yeah.
At that time, Hull was filled with a big family. That's who was moving into town.
Even since that point, like all the family, when I grew up, when you went out the door, it was so great growing up there because the neighborhood was just an extension, another part of the house. And I remember everybody had like the Tierney's had 10 kids, and the Nickersons got in a 6.
So you grew up, just to clarify for these guys, the neighborhood I live in now, right? That was your family home?
And for the point?
Yeah.
Where do you live?
I live on the corner of 7th and Nantasket Road.
Oh, yeah.
Just a couple blocks down.
And the McManuses lived right in that house.
I saw your dad when I took walks. I bought the house 12, 13 years ago.
That's amazing.
So
we didn't lock the doors. We'd just play and then go into anybody's house to get a glass of water or use the bathroom. Mm-hmm. Well, the doors were just open. We lived outside. And if you walked any summer night, man, everybody's on the porch, listen to the Red Sox games on transistor radio. It was awesome.
What I'm hearing is the special thing about Hull for you sounds like the community vibe, right?
Yeah.
It's not maybe unique, but it's uncommon.
Right. They used to call that area, since a point, people were calling it Fertile Valley because of all the kids.
Never heard of that.
It's the sunsets.
Yeah, but everybody was living this way all over Hull, but there were really big families there. Like if you had just 5 kids, we'd probably kick you out.
Like I said, that was the norm. It was incredible. And that's because Hull was, my dad bought his house on East Street, 5 houses from the beach.
Yeah.
He paid in 1971, roughly. Beach. You want to be close to the beach. That's what he wanted,
My dad paid $3,000 for the house that was sold and been remodeled right now. I don't know what it was sold for.
I think I mentioned there.
100,000.
I think they dedicated the street corner, right?
Yeah.
Street to him. And I think I mentioned there. That's the first time I think I ever met you because again, you graduated in 79 and I was 5 years later or so. So you and I really have never crossed paths, right?
Right.
When I think about the beginning though, this is a story every kid that went to Hull High had your dad for a gym teacher. And you words can't describe. I know we've talked about it a lot at all these different levels, but so many people had him in the tuck and roll. He taught you how to fall, basically. It was phenomenal. It was great.
You know Danny Tullish?
I don't know.
He lived in the village. He's my age, but he worked at Paragon. He worked on the roller coaster. On Wednesdays, they oiled the tracks. They needed the people who worked there to ride it because it's a really slick ride when you first ride it. So you want to put paying customers on it then because people might get flown out, right? So he fell out of the car and survived. They asked him, they go, how'd you survive? He goes, I tucked and rolled.
That's the first and last roller coaster I've ever been on.
Really?
I'm terrified, that 90-degree drop. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that was insane.
So I was going to go back just a little bit earlier, and if you're okay talking about it, but we were also, again, he was just such a nice, empathetic man. Again, words can't describe that. And he was dealing with a lot of rough and tumble people coming through Hull, the stuff that was going on back then, 60s, 70s, comfortable place, put it that way. And he handled it really well and had a lot of respect from people. But we also learned about in the history classes, that background, if you don't mind talking about that.
Oh, at Dumber's house? Okay, I got to tell you, and I think Chris wrote about this when my dad died. And when I was in middle school, memorial school, and in high school, I think it was the U.S. History and Government or something, the class, but they would show, it was like a reel, not a film strip, but it was a reel that they would show, right? It was weird because it was quick. Like it was only 15 minutes long, but everybody told me that my dad was in it. You could see him in one of the shots, like up against the wall at the trials, right? So I was all excited when we got there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to skip the class. I'm going to see my dad. And I'm telling everybody, I'm going to pick my dad out. The teacher had shown it so many times that they paused that film on that spot that the bulb burned my dad out.
Oh my goodness.
You couldn't see him anymore. Wow. He's like a ghost. It's crazy.
But he was sent there, right? That was his first post at a young age.
As an MP, it was the very first thing. And he went, he went, his job was to drive in the Jeeps to distribute the people in the trials. So he took them to the courthouse.
19? I heard he was very, very young.
He was 18.
18.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So, I mean, when were the trials? In 45? 1945?
Been 45,
That's
46 time frame. I would say 46 time frame, but
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
46?
guessing.
On the way to being 19, yeah.
Did he talk about it a lot?
No.
No.
He never brought it up and never talked about it. If we brought it up, because, when it came up in the school, we would talk to him about it. And he talked a little bit about it. One thing he would say every time, he wouldn't get into details, but he said what he remembers, because it's a pretty traumatic experience, because they're showing all the footage as evidence for the crimes against humanity, right?
Mhm.
And he always said that when they showed the atrocities, the whole place would like gasp and like people would turn away. And these guys just had little smiles on their faces and watched the screen. He said it was the most horrifying thing he's ever seen.
Mm.
That's what he told us.
That is incredible. That's a statement.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. So I'd like to go around the table. I'm sure you guys have some really pertinent questions. I think that was a good introduction to this history. He's got a much more extensive background, as we know.
Yeah. Well, Peter, one of the things I think people would want to hear about is how you experienced Hull, right? Growing up, however long you lived here, which you should probably orient us to that, versus what you see about Hull now. It's changed and it's continuing to change.
Yeah.
Development happening. There's a lot of things that are changing, and there's also a lot of big proposed changes. But is there anything that you see that, well, Hull never lost this about it, and that's why it's still special? What's your take on what's happened in Hull from when you're growing up to now, and right, the evolution, sort of like macro takeaways that you've been able to observe? Because you have a very interesting perspective where you're trying to almost capture the unwritten energy or the feeling, right? Emotion.
So, when I started drawing cartoons in 1991, it was really fun because I was living in the town and I was we'd go to the coffee shops and go to all the places where people are hanging out. We'd meet up with people and talk, even at the post office in line. And people talked about, even on the beach, people come up to me and they would say, "What did you mean by that, cartoonist?" I always say, "Well, what did you get out of it?"
True.
And that's what I meant. I don't know what it's like now to be moving in and out of the community in that way. I would have to imagine that it kind of parallels a lot of places around the country where there's pockets of people and it's isolated because most people are engaging through the screens. We don't gather for community. We gather a lot of times for ideology now. And it's hard, I think, it's hard to see through the stuff you're projecting. You know, it's hard to see through that because we tend to see the whole world by all the information we're getting. And we don't always know that. It was always that way, but the center that we all came to were actual physical and connective centers. Like when you got home from school, I don't know, like the first thing we did, we got a snack and then we met. And every Friday night, I went to Kimberma Courts because I had 10 kids in my family. There was one phone. And if I didn't call anybody, I don't know what anybody's doing. That's it. I missed it. I don't know what anybody's doing. There's no way to find out. So we make a pact. We go, all right, by this time, we'll meet at the court. We'll meet at the courts. So we met there. We hang out, play basketball. We go, okay, what do you want to do? We said, oh, there's the party in the village. Okay, let's go to it. There was a different communication system.
Mm-hmm.
We relied on the meetups. I was part of meetup. I don't even know if it's a thing anymore. You know, when it was a big deal when people meet up for businesses and the app was called Meetup. Do you guys remember that?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. You get together and then you go, oh, I'm going to give a talk on this for business or whatever. And then everybody in Meetup would see it. And then you'd go to the local place and do it. I don't think people are meeting up that much.
A lot less for sure, and especially kids. It's a lot of arranged play dates. Even with my kids, when you were growing up in Hingham, there was a lot of that. When we moved to Hull, I'll tell you, Peter, when we moved to Hull back, my youngest was in 6th grade.
Yeah.
The first thing that was fascinating to me was we moved into my mother-in-law's house on Train Ave. We were looking for a house, and kids started knocking on the door from the neighborhood, and that never happened. I was in a great neighborhood in Hingham, all cul-de-sacs. But it was just different, you know, a little more distance and arranged play dates. But in Hull, first, I said to my wife, look, this is phenomenal. He'd come home from school, be on his bike and gone, just similar to what you're talking about now.
Right. And you know, in the summer, we used to play this game in the neighborhood we called the Cops and Robbers. I think everybody had a different name for it, but we were on bikes. Everybody would meet up on bikes and everybody in the neighborhood. There'd be like 50 kids and we'd split everybody up. So there'd be 2 teams, right? And one team would stay and count, and the other team would go, do we have a boundary at the end of the point, Sunset Point? And we had all the way down to, I think it was 2nd Street, maybe. I couldn't go on 2nd Street. So if you went, because there were woods, you could go put your bike down and hide. So what happens is then everybody would have to say, at one time, all the cops would go after all the robbers. And the way you got them, because if you saw one coming, you got on your bike and you took off, you had to grab them while you were riding and you had to hold them and say for a period of time, like 1, 2, 3, cut by me or something. And then you brought them back and you put them in a holding place. And when everybody got back and you switched.
Oh, that's funny.
The game lasted for a long time. Sometimes the streetlights would come on telling everybody to go home.
That is true.
It probably had something to do with the fact that the early 70s, I think some of those sports teams were phenomenal.
Yes.
Huge classes, but the athletes coming out of Hull, they won a lot of state championships in different sports as well.
Yeah, we were self-surely co-champs in baseball in my senior year. That was awesome. My junior year, I didn't play football, but the football team went to the Super Bowl with Billy Williamson as a quarterback. That was
He went to Syracuse.
with that.
He went to Syracuse as starting quarterback, I think, for a year.
Oh, really? Wow.
Well,
Did he graduate from there?
I don't know the whole story, but I've seen him recently. I talked to him. He ended up going to
Where,
Syracuse.
where did you see him?
Well, that's a great story. I have purchased 2 Toyotas in the last 8 years. And Billy happens to sell Toyotas. He's a great guy. My mentality is, hey, I'm going to buy a Toyota. I'm going to give some money.
I'm
I
gonna-
Vault. Yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Right.
And we
I
played
know.
top ball over the past 10 years or so. He's come and played some.
He still, I gotta tell you, man, I never saw anybody throw as hard as him. And I've never seen anybody hit a high fastball as far as him. It was unbelievable. So we played, since I was a sophomore, I played on the varsity. Billy pitched half the games. When he didn't pitch, he played short. He played third when he played short, and I played short when he pitched.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a blast. But I used to see him years later, like 10 or 20 years later, and I'd see him at Casey's.
Yep.
Oh my
We-
goodness.
Talking about turning double plays and right as he's going.
Talk about
he
Keith.
played pool. We played pool and we would just like stay. We played doubles and we just stayed play. We just beat everybody the whole night. Like no help from me because he was really good at pool.
That's funny. So Paragon Park obviously was a big part of. Did you end up working there at all?
I worked there. My whole family worked there. I only worked there for part of a summer because I was taking somebody's place. I worked in the games and I was so bad at it. I don't even know what it was. It was weird because I tried to avoid working as much as possible. Here's my dream job, but it wasn't about work. It was about being inside. I couldn't stand it. And so like a dream job for me was working on a garbage truck, getting up early in the morning, being outside, running alongside, lifting it up, staying in shape, finishing by a certain time, and then being on the beach all day and making good money. That to me is the best job. So I always think, oh, how do I get a job where I stay in shape, stay outside and still get paid? Because most of those jobs you don't get paid. So I was a lifeguard. And then after I was a lifeguard, I worked for years. When I started the Hell Times, I was working on Tom McDuff's lobster boat.
Knew it.
Oh, wow.
Knew that was coming. I didn't know.
And Tommy took his boat out right after Thanksgiving. And I would go on to Peter Menice's boat until he took their boat out of the water, which was in the springtime for a little bit, picked all the traps out, fixed everything and went right back out. His regular guys would come back and then I'd go back on Tommy's boat. But the weird thing about that is when I started at the Whole Times and I'm like working, like I remember doing that first cartoon, I go, this is awesome. But I was so stressed out by it took me forever to do it. I'm going, I don't know how it's going to look when it's printed. I don't know if these letters are going to show up, right? And I'm learning as I go. Every time it was printed, I go, oh, I got to get a thicker pen. And I started using a brush to draw. I've been using a brush ever since. I was on the boat and it's not like 5, we got to go in. You came in when you came in. I was so tired because I didn't want to miss getting the Whole Times cartoon done. I drew on Peter Mahoney's boat too. I drew a whole bunch of cartoons on his notes where all the traps are, and the Loran numbers when you write them down. I drew in one of his notebooks. I don't know if he found it. But anyways, I was trying, that's how I was making a living. That's how I was paying the bills. And I said, if I can replace this job with another one that makes money, but I can still work on my cartooning skills, that'd be great because I had no time. So I felt like it was a long and slow development for those skills. So one day in the first year, Nancy Kramer, I was coaching youth basketball. Stephen Callum said to me, he goes, hey, we're doing a basketball league and I'm coaching this team. He goes, why don't you come? You could be my assistant coach. And I went, okay, cool. So I went on Saturday and then he goes, oh, by the way, I'm not gonna be able to do this. So you have to coach the team. And I'm like, all right, I don't know when I'm going to be in there. Anyway, I did it. And Brian Kramer was on the team, right? It was so much fun. And Nancy Kramer came in the middle of time and she said, hey, Peter, Brian's having his bar mitzvah and I want you to draw caricatures at it. And I said, I never did that. I don't know if I can do that. And I was giving her names of cartoonists I knew who could do that. And she goes, he wants you. And I went, okay, I'll do it. So I figured out how to do it. I drew 75 kids that night at his bar mitzvah.
Wow.
It was baptism by fire. That's weird, baptism for. And at the end of the night, I was like, oh, wow, I could put an ad in the paper, and the amount of money I got was more money than I made during the whole week. So I went, all right. So I started developing caricature, and I still do it today. I still do corporate events.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're in New Mexico?
Yeah. In Corrales. If you ever come to New Mexico, just come to Corrales. It's awesome.
We might have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm looking around. I have a picture of Corrales. I was just going to hold it up.
I think Jake's a private pilot. He could probably do that tomorrow.
Oh, see, you got it?
Peter, I have a quick question. I kind of skimmed your background when Jerry sent everything to us. Tell me about the award-winning cartoon, The Bottleneck, that you did.
What do you
I
remember?
found that you won an award.
Not.
I didn't
Oh, yeah.
see it. No.
Oh, okay.
I want to hear about it.
I love this about cartoons. I love reading all the news. I learned this thing a long time ago because I used to get stressed out about reading all the papers. I'm looking for newsworthy ink. And then I'm figuring, what do I say about that? What's my opinion about that? Sometimes I'll think of something funny, but it's not the opinion I have. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Right. So I learned a long time ago that used to stress me out. And you can't be creative when you're stressed, right? It's just doesn't work. Your creative juices turn that acid in fight or flight so that, I don't know, the saber-toothed tiger won't eat you because it's acrid in his mouth, right? That's like biology, right? We make ourselves taste bad. Like your sweat even smells differently when you're stressed out. I started meditating in the morning and saying, okay, what do I want to say today? I don't care about any of the news. What do I want to say? What do I have something to say? What's coming through? Sometimes I would write about it, but then I would go into the news and look for news to say that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Do I use the news as the metaphor for the thing I want to say instead of the other way around? And it works way better because you stay really aligned.
Because I'm
Well,
trying to.
The bottleneck.
Okay, the bottleneck traffic thing. I wanted well, just for that cartoon, I would describe the cartoon for you. You're talking about the traffic in the summer was so bad because of the way the configuration at the end of the day in the summer. Dude, the traffic's insane. If you got to go shopping, forget it. There's no way to get out of the town unless Jake's plane gives you a ride. Or use one of the drones or something. So that was a big concern, right? And the other thing is that people were coming into the town and not going to the stores, not going to the restaurants. The restaurants weren't overly crowded. Like Jake's a bad example because they'll always have a big crowd there. But I started thinking about the bottleneck traffic. I said bottleneck. And I thought of a bottle, and I thought the way, because that's, it's a bottle. It comes out to a small end, like, it's got the big,
Yep.
right. And I thought, what if that was on its side and inside was all the revenue and you had the business owners reaching in, but they can only reach the front. And I just called it bottleneck.
Interesting.
It's traffic, right? The bottle's called summer traffic.
That's very cool. And it's actually still relevant, I think.
Maybe I'll just keep putting it in the paper.
Yes.
I'll get a day off.
I think it's amazing how you see what's going on here.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then you capture it every week.
Being on the pulse, like listening to people in Facebook. It's kind of cool because people they're always like saying, I know what's going on. But the big thing is tomorrow morning, I'll get an email from Chris and it will be our editorial meeting. And he tells me all the stuff. He goes, Carol's doing an article about this. This was going like, we had not remember the stuff that went in last week and stuff coming up from 2 weeks ago. It's still relevant, right? So we have editorial meetings. So I stay on top of things that way, but I'm not getting it new. I've been consistently doing this for 35 years in the town, except 1 year I didn't do it. I retired and I was doing it here in New Mexico, doing editorial cartoons in the same capacity, like weekly papers. And I was doing pretty well in Massachusetts because I was distributing cartoons to 25 dailies in Massachusetts about Massachusetts news. I was doing the Hall Times. I was working at the Marion newspapers, and I was in the Boston Globe on the op-ed page on Saturdays for like in quotes of note section. So I did the local cartoon, and they put in a Mike Lukovich national cartoon, right? I could pay all my bills with that. Boston Globe, I would fax stuff on Sunday if it was relevant, because they took stuff off the syndicate on Monday. There's nobody working on the weekend to do a relevant cartoon for 2 days later. They're buying something boring off the syndicate. So I would read the news, do a cartoon, and then fax it. They would sometimes print it on the editorial page. I get $600 for being on the editorial page and the Globe, and I got $300 for being on the op-ed page. I did 2 cartoons that I would send out to all these papers in Massachusetts, and one of them was the Boston Globe cartoon. After it was printed, everybody printed it, and I was on their 25 papers payrolls. They just paid me for the same cartoon.
Awesome.
That's syndication. When I got to New Mexico and I started doing it, I discovered really fast that you get paid by circulation, not by the papers. There was no circulation. Like in Massachusetts, there's 6 million people in Massachusetts. Boston Globe has 500 million circulation in New England. There's a bunch of papers in New Mexico, but only one major one, the Albuquerque Journal. And Albuquerque only has 1 million people. At the time it was like 500,000. I think New Mexico had 1 million.
Wow.
It was like 500 in the greater area, that gigantic state, which would cover up most of New England or maybe all of it. There's just so you get paid by advertising money, and there was no circulation. So it wasn't being distributed. So nobody paid. So I was paying more money to distribute the cartoons than I was making. When I go, I have to, that's when I went into comic strip syndication at that time.
The process is fascinating. You described how you sit down and come up with ideas. That to me is really cool.
Yeah. It's kind of cool.
Well, it keeps your connection.
What's what my book looks like?
Well, it's not coming through clear.
Oh, no,
Was that some sketches?
I see. Yeah. Like,
If you angle it a little bit, there you go.
Oh, like that. And then like,
wow.
rough sketches.
It's great.
I fill up tons of. This is always the first page. You'll say the whole times on it, and then I write everything that's going down.
Very cool.
That is very cool.
Very cool.
I was with Tom. Pat Finn is kind of a folklore legend and all.
Yeah.
And I was with Tom
Yeah.
Coy when he was talking about getting you to do the gray Cadillac. David,
goes.
it's such a beautiful job on that.
Yep.
Yeah. I was in Hull in July. We were burying my parents' ashes at the cemetery. So we had a big ceremony. And this is when I heard about that. I saw Pat Averill at the cemetery, and he told me that Pat Finn's not going to, and I'm like, oh, he's not going to make it. He goes, yeah, it's pretty bad. And then, so I immediately called my cousin up, Tom. You guys know the Keepers?
I know Tom.
And I said, hey, tell me about Pat Finn. I used to go with my cousins all the time in the village. I used to hang out with all them, with the Murphys and the Finns and who's that guy that Michael Happney lived up the top of the village. You guys know him?
No, I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
And so he was telling me all about him, and I was taking notes. And, okay, all right. And if I could find one phrase and one image that holds a lot in there, right? That says a lot about Pat. That says a lot about what he did. I had to get that gray ghost in.
Oh God, yes.
I had to.
No, it was great. I mean, he always said, love him or hate him. He was always about help.
That's exactly what Tommy said.
Mhm.
Tom Kinnear. He didn't have he would speak his mind.
Yeah.
It's his people up.
I still liked him though.
He was passionate, and his passion was mistaken for anger quite a bit, I think. You know what I mean?
Oh,
But
really?
he was
Really?
really passionate about things.
My question is, back in the 70s, if he acted the same way, would it have been misconstrued as
That's
anger?
Great question.
Because you talked about community and how things change. This is a big part of what I'm noticing. You got people fully. You know what I mean? Like if somebody didn't like you, they told you.
Much different crowd. Much different,
Right.
harder crowd. Sure.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's a big change.
that's a good point.
Jake is how many years in Hull now? 8? No, longer than that.
9 going on 10.
Wow. That's a
Yeah.
big celebration coming up. What are you going to do for it? The 10 What are you going to do? Where are you from?
I grew up in Southern Rhode Island.
Southern, like Watch Hill? Like,
Newport, Rhode Island.
oh, Newport.
Yeah,
Oh,
that area.
that's a cool area. As festival, right?
I've never been on it. It's on my list.
Honestly, I think Hull and the access to Boston, it's a lot more interesting than Newport. And of course, what you grow up with is always like, there's something better out there. I lived some other places for a little bit and they didn't feel better, but Hull does feel better.
Right.
It's a community I have here. I've never experienced that anywhere else. And that's actually part of what we're trying to do here, rebuild a little bit of that sense, because I think we've lost our way a little bit. The idea was if real Thelonians tell their story, their background, and they bring in the experiences, some of the magic might actually return, even in the digital.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll tell you a story. I offended one person in the village recently. I was given a tribute to Pat Finn at a meeting.
Oh,
And I mentioned how when I was growing up on East Street, the village was seen by my young eyes as a really tough place. And you did not walk through that place. Not alone. A woman
No,
contacted me.
you don't want to go there.
She said, you should resign immediately. How dare you say that about the village? I actually called and then I saw her out in public one time and we talked. She's great.
The village, Matt. The village.
That's funny, Jerry, because I've always been around Hull. I grew up predominantly in South Weymouth, but originally from Dorchester. 4 generations on the beach. My first single apartment was in Hull in my early 20s. Then I went and roamed the world. For the sake of another God rest her soul, I came back to Hull to the same exact place.
Very common.
And I started in my
Wow.
50s.
That's a really common story. It's a great point. And you know who just came back? Charlie Richardson. His nickname is
Okay.
Chinka. Right? That was his nickname.
He was our second baseman on that championship team.
Really? Is that right? So yeah, he came in and he was one of the HRA candidates. And I don't know the man, but I went through that whole process and he seemed like, there was some really good people in there. Don't get me wrong.
He's got big roots. My mom used to babysit his mother, Ginny, and my brother Paul lives in Maine. His youngest son, Nick, worked at the camp that Chinka ran. Charlie Richardson.
It was funny when you talk about the reputation of the village. When I moved back,
Yeah.
I moved from Dorchester to here.
Yeah.
And I live on the corner of Q, right across from the Allerton post office.
Very cool.
So I'm here a couple nights and I'm walking across the street around 8 o'clock. The woman that lives upstairs said she worked at the couple of farms. I get there and her car's there. I'm like, you drove? It's literally a 350-foot walk. She said, yes, you're in a very bad neighborhood. I just came from Dorchester. I'm not worried about it. It's pretty well lit. I don't look at the alphabets as a dangerous place at all right now. I don't know if it was back then, but I don't look at it as dangerous.
I think so. You got safer as you went to Allerton Hill. Allerton Hill is
Oh, Allerton Hill is beautiful. Spectacular views.
yeah. But you're like, Kinburma section, there was some
A Street was tough. A Street,
A
right
Street
down
was
where the liquor
tough.
store is now, was a dirt patch. And, there were just
Yeah.
guys hanging around that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. And, same with the village.
no
Good
kidding.
stuff.
There were some scary kids, man. Like older kids.
You beat the hell. Yeah.
There was a gang called the Incinerator Gang that
Oh my
hung out
goodness.
at the light plant. The
Well,
area
that's
called
interesting
Incinerator.
signal.
We don't allow gangs in Hull anymore, right? It's not allowed. Police are right on top of that.
We used to be afraid of them, and it was in the 60s, man. I don't know if it was Robert Mead. They were, oh my God, they were so scary.
Oh, like,
But I don't even know if they really were. I think it was just like a kid.
Yeah.
we call it the older kids, and like you just
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. Southway, similar
I had
vibes.
So,
Similar vibe.
so I lived right on 10th Street, and like 10th Street, right at the end of the strip at the dike. I don't know if you guys call it that anymore. Still call it,
Nantasket Road. I don't think it's.
well, the strip that goes across splits the swamp and the bay.
I live right by there. I can see it from my window.
Okay. So my best friend in high school lived on Burma Street on the other side, right? And we'd meet at the basketball court. I'd be on the phone with him and he goes, "Oh, well, let's walk." And I go, "Okay." And he would always say, "We'll walk across the dike. If we're more on his side, then we'll take Newport. If we're more on my side, we'll take Dust Road. We'll turn around and walk together," right? He, not once did he make it on my side.
Oh, that's funny.
He made me cross the whole dike. And it was scary, man. That's why we didn't want to do it, because we were scared.
There's so many hidden parts of Hull. Like when you talk about that geography, I don't really know it that well. And that's even kind of another unique characteristic of the peninsula, because we're hills and then we're at sea level. It's really kind of
It's the coolest place because they're drumlins, right?
drumlins. That's exactly right.
Drumlins. And drumlins are connected by barrier beaches, right? Between two drumlins, you'll have a sandbar. That's a barrier beach. They're connected at the drumlins, right? Nantasket Beach wants to face another way, and it can't, because we put streets and houses down on it. And so sand doesn't come back. Like the longshore current takes the sand every year and moves it down, and it used to be replenished because it was a sandbar parallel to the beach out in the water. But it's not there anymore because it was destroyed by draggers. You know, that it sounds like a gang right there. The draggers stream.
I sat next to Peter Mahoney one night in a meeting. I forget where it was, but he was talking about a lot of the same things. The MDCC wall, as an example, it's not helping the beach, right?
Right. And if you notice, there's pockets that are becoming sandy beaches that weren't sandy beaches before. Like on Newport, on the seawall there, on Packard, there's eelgrass growing. If you walk across the dike, there's a big mound of eelgrass growing. That's going to be a sandy beach. That's going to be a dune someday. I've been watching it for 40 years. I'm just telling everybody about it. The other places is, at Lighthouse Point there, and Joe's Nautical Bar is all sandy.
Very good point.
Those were not sandy. That's the longshore current emptying out into there.
Funny that you say that, because on my first tour, Josephine was still alive, and it didn't have all of the memorabilia on the walls at the Joe's Nautical Bar. Now it's a little bit more, I don't know, urbanized isn't the right word, but caters to the community and all that stuff. And I remember that when I went to Joe's 2.0, in my mind, the beach just blew me away. I'm like, when did this come here?
It is.
And it wasn't there in 1991.
Right. By the way, I did call it Joe's Nautical Bar. That seems what everybody calls it. We used to call it Darcy's.
That's right. And I used to go to a Darcy's.
Oh, Jack's place.
That was Darcy's. That's right.
It wasn't popular. It was awesome to just go in there and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, we got about 10 minutes. You can certainly stay longer. I don't know what your schedule is.
Yeah.
But,
anything else you have on your agenda that need to answer?
I don't really, and that's the thing. We don't have set agendas. It's more of a conversation and just kind of hearing what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
I was just curious if there were any specifically Hull cartoons that really stand out to you over 35 years. I mean, there's got to be a couple that really stand out.
Oh my God, this is how I draw them. Look at it. Brushwork. Look at that.
So like literally
Wow.
small paintbrushes, is that what you use?
No, I use
You can show us.
That's one. I saw the drafted table. Nice.
That's a brush.
Okay.
Winsor & Newton, Series 7, number 2.
Nice.
Go get them.
People are going to love to hear that detail.
I do all my comic stuff. There's an old comic about done the brush.
What?
Yeah. So it's awesome. It's awesome.
Like any stand
There's
up.
one thing I wanted to talk about.
You can bust chops.
Yes. So when I was in high school and in my 20s, I lived in California for like 10 years.
That's why I had you picked for California, right?
Yeah. But the group we used to hang out with, I'm going to tell you, like, so people in town, so Henry Dunn's still kind of in the his done right park and stuff. I graduated with Henry, right? And I went streaking with Henry. A whole bunch of left.
It is.
And this is how we did it. I don't know if it was Amy Pelham or somebody who was working at Curtis at A Street. What was it called then? It's Curtis Farms, I think.
Curtis Liquor.
There's liquor.
That's right.
And she was working the register. We're like, oh, and Andrew goes, hey, let's all go and let's all walk in, go in the back, take all our clothes off, and then straight forward.
Oh my God.
Oh, we did it.
That was big in the 70s, though, right?
Yeah.
There was a song.
Apparently, they're looking for things to do.
I just remember
found
some
something.
television incident where there was a streaker on the TV. It was like some
Well,
football.
that happens today. That's not.
That was
That still happens today.
Yeah.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
I'm like, oh, I see a lot of
I
like
don't remember a lot.
soccer game.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Somebody streaked out a baseball game too in that outfield.
That was really good, Peter. I don't want to steer you off track. Old stories about people in Hull that is still kicking around, like Henry. Yeah, Henry's great. I just played basketball with one of his sons. We see him all the time. He's very active. Any
Yeah.
other great, crazy stories?
Oh my God, there's so many with being done.
All the
Okay.
nicknames are really cool.
I mean, we got so bored at Kinburma. We started playing a game with the basketballs. We were shooting from the corner or half court. If you got it in, you had to tell somebody what to do and they had to do it. And it ended up being, you guys have to, because there was a traffic light there, like a walk light, like if you push the button,
Yeah.
is it still there?
It is, yeah.
Yes.
So we had to push the button, stop the traffic, and then take your clothes off and walk across the street.
Oh, you did that.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Because it's your family. You know,
This is why I always say kids these days, like my kids, so much better than we were when we were young.
Oh God.
like,
I know I have nieces and nephews and
Head and shoulders.
yeah.
I don't know.
Wow, what do you say, Jake?
I'm saying I was kind of a wild child.
Well, oh, yeah.
elaborate. I think
There were lots of rules that were broken. Yeah. If there was a rule, my job was to figure out how to break it. That was essentially me as a kid.
Maybe it's the types of rules you get. Maybe everybody's breaking the rules, but the rules are changing, right?
Yeah. I agree with that.
Well, if you set something up, this is the way it is, there's the rules. Well, then if you set the parameters, then you make the rules to break them because you made a small parameter. If they get on the other side, that's okay. You can do good parenting in that. If you make a big one and they cross it and it's something you can't come back from, that's not that great. By the way, we also went up in the water tower, which is kind of cool.
Great.
I mean, every day I looked out my window, I would see the water tower. They had the green water tower, and then there was another thing next to it that looked like the Tin Man's hat. Oh no, remember that?
yeah, I do. It's come here a lot.
You're talking about the one in Strawberry Hill?
Strawberry Hill.
Yeah, we used to climb that when I was a kid. That was like a
Yeah.
rite of passage. Get as drunk as
That
you can,
terrified me.
and then climb that to the very top with my crazy friends.
Right.
Were you
Also-
saying that you did that?
I was with kids who did that.
There you go.
Okay.
Non-ability.
That's daring.
That's scary.
Mhm.
But you know what's weird? On the Nantasket Ave side of Strawberry Hill, that used to be able to sled down that and on.
Yeah, we did.
that was awesome,
We did as well.
right?
Yep.
That was man. Then you can't do it now because all those trees and bushes and stuff there.
How many hills
Yeah.
are there?
What's that?
How many hills are there?
There's
Strawberry.
what's the first one down there at
Alex said.
no Reef down there in Cohasset? What's
Gun
that
Rock.
one?
Oh,
Oh, I know
Before
what
Gun
you're
Rock.
talking about. It's like
Plum
right
it
on
out.
the border.
Bluff. What's it called? Reef or Bluff? I
I
don't
think
know the
some
name of it.
stuff goes up there.
Yeah,
Fucking
yeah,
right on the Cohasset line.
yeah. So that one,
I think there's a
Christian
sidewalk, right?
Rockaway has
Yeah,
a hill.
Rockaway is another one.
Strawberry.
Sagamore Hill, Strawberry Hill.
I think you're going to move back, Peter. I think at one point you're going to end up moving back here. I mean, you're so involved already. I mean, you're a political icon in this town. I mean, you have your finger on the pulse. You are creating these cartoons.
No. This thing has.
Phenomenal.
Oh yeah, you guys are the beat. The Times is the pulse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And really important issues. I look forward to Thursdays.
I have 3 kids growing up. Wednesdays were closed off. I had to do that to make sure I hit that deadline because it was the soonest I could do it to stay on top of it. And so way back then they go, don't talk to dad. It's Wednesday. Don't go near dad. It's like, well, sometimes I'll come up with something and I'm done. It's quick. It's awesome. Sometimes I- I'll, uh, I'll go to bed at like 3 a.m. and it's equally as awesome. There's no place I would rather be.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, it's a creativity though, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think that's a state. I don't think it's relegated to artists, but I have a definition of art because I got kind of sick of that. Like people would say, "Oh, I'll draw caricatures," and people go, "Oh, that's a real talent." I go, what does that mean?
Peter, what's the definition of art? I think that would be good to hear.
The definition of art, I make a distinction between art and craft because craft, you can be a great technician. I see a lot of guys who have retired, and they were like engineers and then they got into painting, like oil painting, and they got their stuff in a gallery. They've been doing it for 5 years and their stuff's in a gallery and they're making money, right? And people go, "Oh my God, that's so great." And I look at it and I go, you're calling yourself an artist, but you're really a really good technician. You understand how the paint works. To me, it's you had paint in a canvas. You had 1 + 1, and then you put it together and you ended up with 2. An artist would take 1 + 1 = 3. This is the definition because there's a third. I say art is like, if it was an acronym, accessing real truth, maybe. So here's the way it works. It's because I used to think, "Oh, I'm not ready yet because my skill level's not there." And I'm comparing myself to people who do it, but you got to get better. The state that you get into allows for something to emerge that is unknown. You're like, if I go in with Picasso said the act of creation is first an act of destruction. Okay. It doesn't mean you destroy your life to make a new one. If you're making a painting and you come in with preconceived ideas, technique, strategy, you're not creating anything. You're recreating your past. You're a good technician. Does that make sense?
It does.
What you're doing is you're making the space with your skills too, but you don't have to, for something that wants to be expressed to emerge. I'll go back to Bruce Springsteen. He said, by the way, I'm quoting him when I said the 1 + 1, when you have canvas and paint and canvas and you end up with canvas and paint at the end, you fail. He says, when we show up as a band, we go to a venue, the people go to watch us and we go to play, but we're not there to play and they're not there to watch us. We're meeting up for something mystical and magical to happen. And Bruce Springsteen said, "Grown men cry." He goes, "I don't know what that is, but if we were setting up songs to do that, it would never happen."
Mm-hmm.
There's a space where you let go and allow what wants to be expressed. That's what it is. So how does that work on deadline? Or when you need to get something done, right? It still works because the more you do it, the better you get. That's crap. The art is perfect. Always. It's the truth of the moment. Always seeking the truth, sitting with people and allowing for the truth. That's it. What wants to be expressed? The craft is imperfect. The more you do it, the better you get. The end of that is not perfection. It is excellence. You don't go to the yoga class to get better at yoga. You do yoga so that in life you can live the best life that you can live. When you're relaxing into the moment or into a stretch that's really tight, and you go, "Oh," or you compare yourself to somebody else, just breathe and relax into it. If you're doing that every day in life, with a car in front of you, oh, wait a minute, I can just relax. And if I need somebody to do something and I need to control the area so that I feel better, there's nothing going on there. You're missing the stuff that's emerging.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, the unknown in that moment by two things coming together, by people coming together, by sitting down, having a coffee, something emerges. And if we're present for that, it's always beautiful.
And the light bulb goes off and it's that magical moment, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. That's why I like sitting with drawing caricatures. man, for like 35 years, I've been doing that.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I'm going to tell you this because this is the essence of everything I do. I drew for 6 hours one day. A woman was in line, sat down. She's all excited. She goes, "Oh, I can't wait. I never got one of these before." She goes, "Oh my God, your hand must be so tired." And I said, "No, my hand's not tired enough." She goes, "How can that be?" And I go, "Because I don't draw with my hand." And she said, "What?" I go, "You know, you don't see with your eyes, but you don't draw with your hand. You don't live with your body. You draw through your hands. I see through my eyes. I live my life through my body, not from it. If I was living from it, I would get worn out and tired and exhausted. But if I'm relaxing and making space, there's something new. And by the way, that new joy, it's ever new joy. So it doesn't mean you're happy all the time. It means I'm appropriately sad with this thing going on. I'm sad, but I am joyfully, blissfully experiencing sadness in that moment. The more I relax, it's effortless effort. I'm not there. I'm not gripping the pen and things are coming through. It's flow. It's just a flow. The first time I heard that, I had a teacher in Spanish my senior year in high school, Rod Silva. Do you guys know Rod Silva?
Remember the name?
I remember him talking in the class, and he said he was a jazz musician on the weekends, or sometimes at night. He'd play at night and work all day at the school. He was a Spanish teacher. He was a drummer. And he said to everybody in the class, and I just stuck with me. He said, "Get there. I'm so tired. I don't know how I'm going to do it." But then I just relaxed and it was moving, and it's like the music's playing through me. And I went, like, he's not doing movements to do. It's like that non-doership.
Yeah.
He's in flow, and he's just riding the wave that, and with the music's coming through. And now, and I want to know that. Can you learn it? By the way, that is what Tai Chi and yoga is. That's what meditation. That's what the practice is. By the way, I've also been studying Tai Chi for over 35 years. Yeah, 40 years. So it's fun.
Thank you, Peter.
I
Really good.
appreciate you guys. This
Well,
is really great. I really love this.
I'm going to just tell you that again, I can't thank you enough because, you know, we didn't really know what kind of feedback there would be and if there would be any real interest. I'm going to bring some people to this potentially, right? Jake's going to bring a whole different group of people. Kim's going to bring a whole different, and we're also getting contacted by other people asking to be involved. And I can just tell you that your involvement as the first person is going to really, I think, help us in the long.
You want me to, how is this going to work then? Like, is this, you recorded it?
No,
It's
it's not going to be live. We're not going to edit things out. For the most part, it's just going to be what it is.
Yeah.
We might do that, but we're going to just let the people who come on speak. My goal was to be somewhere between 20 minutes and an hour. And like, I think some people will be succinct because they really just have one point and they don't need a lot of time. And then other people like yourself kind of share an embodied process or whatever.
Chapter one.
And there's a lot more to explain about it.
Right.
I mean, it's such a robust history of Hull too.
Yeah,
You're on the places in Hull.
Hull is just a place to be, but it's the people that are either there or have been there, what that has done to shape Hull. That's really what matters. So we're trying to tell the stories and let that storytelling better explain why Hull is what it is. On our first video, I don't know if you saw it, but I characterize it as pretty simple. I take the boat into the city all the time. Every once in a while, I have to take the Hingham boat, and it's always kind of like a Debbie Downer because you're like, these people don't freaking know each other. They hate each other or something. Then you get on the Hull boat, and you're like, I know I'm at the fucking party because it's a party. It's alive, and everybody's walking and they're walking.
True, it's a vibe or a flow. It's a vibe.
Yeah, exactly. It's connection. It's human connection, and that's
spilling out into
right.
that.
And this can help us all feel better connected to each other, and maybe bring back some of the elements that Hull is missing a little bit. I think that is key to making progress as Hull. So building the community back.
That's great. And if you want, I can do a promo stuff, even quick videos that I can put in reels.
Yeah. If you come up with an idea, let us know or just send it along.
And if you make title pages for like, you have a whole bunch of people, you did a whole bunch, right? You can have a title page for each one that you can make in Canva or something, right?
Mhm.
You go, oh, that's cool. And it has a headline. Like you pull something from what they said. And here's a cool thing. You can break them up into 1-2 minute videos by points and give each point a headline, and people will watch those. Those are great because you don't have to edit them really. You just put them in. Here's,
Right.
hey, find out what he said about this, whatever. Especially if you do TikTok, because you can distribute it on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And then you have people watch the whole thing if they.
Great points. And we're still trying to figure out how this is all going to work. Like right now, we're just thinking YouTube channel and
Sure.
sharing the long form video on Facebook, right, to the local hall groups.
Yeah.
Your feedback coming in as someone with this much experience and who's still involved every week, hearing how you frame these weekly cartoons and what your mindset is just fascinating to me.
Mhm.
So we're going to have to do another one just on the cartoon.
We might have to. The other thing I was going to say is if any feedback you have on who of interest, we would maybe want to sit down with going forward would really be appreciated.
Take some time and think about that and send it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I've been
great.
asking a lot of people that same question.
Yeah.
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 So give it some thought and you just get back to us. We'd love to talk to you again.
Mike Galucius would be freaking awesome on.
Don't know the name.
He lives, he graduated, I think in 1972. He was a Marine. He traveled thousands of miles to go to my dad's wake. When I was talking to him in London, I looked up to him. He played basketball for my dad. He's a speaker and he knows everybody. He'll tell you like great stories that I would want to hear. I was going to say, one more story I got to tell you.
Sure.
When I lived in San Diego and I went to Ocean Beach, Fair Mares is a thrift store, like vintage clothing. I was trying to get a Halloween costume together, right? And I'm in there going through a rack of jackets and I saw a blue jacket. I go, oh, this looks like a Hull Letterman jacket. So I took it off and I looked at it and it was a Hull. It had the guy a nickname and the year, it said the year was 1960 something. And I went, oh my God, I wonder who this is. And then a guy next to me goes, he's all of them. And he goes, that's from Hull. And I go, you know Hull? And he goes, oh yeah, from there. He goes, you are? What's your name? And I said, Peter Menice. And he goes, you're not related to Joe Menice, are you? I go, yeah, it's my dad. And he told me all this stories about about how he was like a surrogate dad to him. And if it wasn't for my dad, he wouldn't have made it. Now he's doing, and I'm like, I've heard that story so many times.
That's awesome.
From so many different people, I imagine, right?
All
But to
over
be
the
like-
country.
Right. To be in San Diego and have that story told to you.
His wake and funeral was the closest you'll get to, I think, Hull, if there's such a thing as Hull royalty. I mean, it was very well attended. The way it was set up was it was incredible.
Yeah. We all wore our Chucks too. Did you see that?
Yeah.
We all had Chucks on.
I don't think I was looking down.
Yeah. That was amazing. So much love in the town.
Yeah.
Really
you
great.
You can't summarize your dad. He was just such a gentle person and trying to deal with so many kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was just great.
He started programs after school because kids had bad home lives.
We haven't even talked about that. Every Friday, it's Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and then I think Sunday sometimes too, night gym at L Street.
Yeah.
Gym. And I know Greg Fallon ran it for the longest time.
Yeah. I graduated with Greg. We're the same age. And
Okay.
I played basketball and baseball with him forever.
That's going to be town hall next. And that's one of the things I'd like to do is get that gym opened up. Open recreation space available to anyone that wants to use it.
Open?
It's owned by the schools still. The building's owned by the schools. It's going to be taken over by town hall. They have a lot of extra space, they just said. So that's all going to be determined, but that's what I'm hoping. Such a great space.
I know that's crazy. That Memorial School gym with the baskets. They're a little bit low, right? Do you know why they're low? because there was a flood. There was a beautiful wood floor and it ruined it. They had to build the floor up.
Really?
And when they brought the backboards up, that was the furthest they could go. So they're
Oh,
1 inch short, maybe.
Yeah, it's just concrete.
There's
parts.
beams saying you can't throw a pass
Yeah.
court length without hitting the beam. There's a big center beam.
That's funny that you said that because I went to the walkthrough when they hired the owners when they were putting the bid out to the OPMs. And I thought the gym seemed strange when I was walking through it.
It's an odd looking gym.
It is.
It's a-
Look
it's
at
a-
the
Swimming pool or something weird.
ceilings are too low for a
Skateboard?
basketball.
Yeah, it's weird.
All right, I think we should wrap. We don't want to keep you all
Okay.
night.
Yeah. So nice to meet you, Peter. Thank you.
yeah.
Let's-